Hello everybody. Finally, after weeks of preparation, I'm about to start assembling and sealing my first tank, in this case the left one. Okay, we're starting by removing the ribs from the left tank. Clean them up with degreaser so the tank sealant will stick better to it. And in spite of the manual saying that we have to put the sealant on the ribs and then insert them, I decided to do it a different way because I think that is better. Because I didn't like the fact that I have to squeeze in the ribs, which will probably push part of the sealant away. So I do differently. Here we are creating the sealant. Next time I will try to do that in front of the camera and not after my tank. And when that was ready, we start by putting sealant on the ribs and actually first attaching them on the bottom side. So here you can see we do that. We put sealant on there on both sides, but we only stick it to the back, to the bottom side of the wing. We do that for all the ribs without, of course, the two end ribs, so the most inner rib and the most outer rib, because those are different. You can actually squeeze them with a squeezer and you don't need to use a rivet gun and a bucking bar for that. I did this because I thought it would be an easier way to do it and to be sure that it wouldn't put away the tank sealant. I still think it's a good idea, although slipping it into the mold was harder. Anyway, what we start doing now is we start by bit put tank sealant in every rivet hole, and then put rivets in there and start using the rivet gun and the bucking bar to rivet all the rivets. So that's a lot of work. And it didn't go that fast. I actually thought that when we started we could do 2 wings on one day, but that's absolutely impossible. It took us about 6 hours to do all this. There was of course some thinking time in there, but no, it will probably not go much faster next time. It will probably take another 5 hours. Results are good though. I like it, and we don't spend too much tank sealant on it. I think I see some other builders gooping everything up with tank sealant, and we just use very little. Worse, middle little, because it could be that I have a leaking tank, but nah, it shouldn't be. So yeah, I think I'm going to use the same principle also for the second tank, because I liked it a lot, and yeah, I don't really like to insert ribs where you kind of slide the sealant off. Also, with the ribs, you only need to be able to seal the holes of the rivets, right? I mean, the ribs may leak on the sides. That's not a problem from one pocket to the other, and that's okay. We were a little rusty with the bucking bar and the rivet gun because we didn't do it for a long time, but actually it went very well. I didn't have to drill out any rivets. At the end I had to drill out one, which was not from the skin, but from a specific part for the flop tube. So that was okay. Yeah, what I really like, I also said it the previous time, I really like the the solution for creating a, let's say, home-built kit container. So we're using the dispensers mechanism. It's not a bought tank sealant dispenser. I created myself by just buying empty kit dispensers and creating in mixing the tank sealant in there. It really works very well. I really like it. Although you will mess up your hands anyway. I mean, everything gets sticky, especially if you're working on it for hours. The bucking bar all gets greased up, and yeah, it's terrible. Also, that open source t-shirt is, I can throw it away because there's tank sealant everywhere. Yeah, this time I asked my dad again to help me, because riveting the tank is, well, it's maybe possible to do it on yourself, but it's much easier if you do it with two people. And also because we're on the clock, it's a good idea to do it with two people. Right, that was the middle one. So now we have done all the ribs in there, and that leaves us with the inner and outer ribs, which we're going to do now. I think we're already 2 hours working on this, so yeah, it took quite some time. First we have to insert all the lines, specifically the return line for injection engine and the vent line for, let's say, adding air in there if tanks becomes empty. We're working on the outboard rib first. It's the easy one, you could say. There's well, there are some holes in there, but not that too many. And yeah, we're specifically working on the bottom part, where there is a doubler, which is necessary for sealing it. We do the same thing, but the part that's different is that we also put tank sealant on the side. This one, of course, we have to slide in the way that the manual says, because yeah, the two outboards we cannot do differently. And so that's why we use a lot of sealant, because this one actually needs to be really sealed, because yeah, if this one should not only not leak at the rivets, but also on the other parts. And as you can see, I use the squeezer for it, which is easier, and yeah, it works faster than with the bucking bar. Also, using the bucking bar on specifically the rivet gun on the, let's say, the end, so on the really the side of the skin, that's dangerous. It's very easy to let it slip off, and then you have dented side, so you have to be careful there. Some rivets didn't really fit that well. I'm wondering if I actually match drilled everything very well, or maybe the dimpling part has offset it a little bit. I'm not sure, but we had some trouble with let's say a few rivets, but yeah, with some meddling we fixed it. Okay, now the other side, the most inboard rib, which also holds the fuel lines and the vent lines and all the other stuff. Oh, here we're actually working on this flop tube line, and that was actually the rivet that we had to drill out. I think I'm doing that right here. Probably done it already, because we're already working on the goop. Same thing. So put the doubler on there, and also the tank angle to attach the front side of the angle to the plane, to the fuselage. And there are a lot of things in there, specifically because I want to make a full aerobatic plane, which means that you need flop tubes for that. or at least one flip tube on the left side. And what I also found is that if you do it this way, it's very hard to put the bottom rivets in there, because the tank doubler, the doubler, the rib doubler and the tank attach angle has quite some thickness. Okay, inserting was easy. Again, we had some trouble, specifically with this one actually, getting all the holes aligned. But in the end it went okay. Again, we used the squeezer. Yeah, and I really made a mistake by not using gloves, because your hands really get sticky. You see me messing with a towel, because every time I really hate this tank sealant on my hands, so that's terrible. Now actually draining my hands in acetone to I wisened up, and I actually took new gloves. That's a good idea. Next time I have to do it immediately. There were some rivets I couldn't catch with the original yoke, so I put in the 4-inch yoke with a flat mouth, so I could go into smaller places. But even then, the bottom rivets were not able to do it with the yoke. There was actually one rivet that was really hard to reach. It was specifically at the tank attach angle, and we use a very special way. I use we use it here. I use an alternative bucking bar, but it worked very well. And yeah, the tank sealant, although not used that much as with most people, I think it really looked great. We have to now keep it dry and let it set, and then maybe in a few days I can add water and see if I've got any leakage, and I will use the same technique on the right wing tank. Okay, next time the right tank. Continue with building my pie in the sky.